Okay, so picture this. It's 1993, right? Fort Myers, Florida. And we've got this young man, David Compared Vanilo, only 30 years old. He's living, pretty simple life.
Yeah.
Working at the local Publix, close with his family, enjoys spending time at the strip clubs in the area. But one October night, David just vanishes.
Wow.
Yeah, later they find him in the trunk of his car.
Oh, no.
And it's on fire, miles away from home.
The thing that really gets me right away with this case is, like you said, ordinary life. And then, bam, brutal end.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some random act. You know what I mean?
Right.
It feels very intentional, not only to kill the guy, but to, really get rid of any evidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's chilling. For almost 30 years, David's murder has remained unsolved. But, today we're going to take a deep dive into the details, all the clues.
Okay.
All the unanswered questions.
I like it.
We've got police reports, witness accounts, and even some insights from people who knew David personally.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we really have a lot to work with then.
Yeah, we do. We really do. So hopefully by looking at all of this, we can kind of paint a clear picture of who he was.
Yeah.
And, what could have possibly led to his death.
Right.
And, all the different theories that have been out there over the years.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of those floating around.
Absolutely. So why don't we start with getting to know David a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
He was adopted, deeply loved by his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And, by all accounts, really friendly, a gentle guy.
Yeah.
He did, have some social challenges, but he held down a steady job at Publix.
Mm-hmm.
And he seemed to find some sense of belonging in, the Fort Myers strip club scene.
It's interesting, the strip clubs, it's like, on one hand, his parents were probably like, oh, I don't know about that. But then again, it sounds like maybe, he found some connection there. That he was, looking for, maybe, made him a little vulnerable,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely adds another layer of complexity to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward a bit. October 16th, 1993.
Okay.
The day, everything changed. We know that David started his day visiting his friend, Gary Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
He was a DJ at the Paradise Club. They were talking about the club's financial troubles.
Oh.
And there was this, undercurrent of tension, right?
Yeah.
With the club owner, Jaime Carrillo. He was actually in jail at the time on drug trafficking charges.
Oh, wow. Okay, so right away we have this connection to, possible criminal activities. So maybe David was involved in something bigger than, we initially thought.
Definitely.
A lot more dangerous than just strip clubs in Publix.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. So after David's done meeting Gary, he goes to work his shift at Publix. And, this is where it gets a little creepy.
Oh, okay.
According to his coworker, Diana, David got this phone call. And after, he was, really shaken up, terrified.
Oh, wow.
He told Diana, he was like, something is going to happen. Someone is waiting, and I'm afraid to go outside the door.
Oh, that's scary.
What do I do?
He knows something's coming.
Right.
So the question is, who was on the other end of that call?
Right. And what did David do to make them so angry?
Yeah, good point.
We don't really have the answer.
Oh, okay.
But we do know that after that call, David made two more. One to a dancer named Michelle.
Okay.
And another to Larry Gore, a DJ at Mermaid's Lounge, which is another strip club he went to a lot. And then, get this, he just leaves work.
Just took off.
Runs to his car, and then he's gone for the rest of the afternoon.
Huh. So it's almost like those calls were clues, right?
Yeah.
Who are these people and what were they talking about?
Right.
Were they warning him? Threatening him?
Yeah, exactly. We'll dig into those calls a bit later.
Okay.
But for now, let's get back to David's trail. So later that evening, around 7 p.m., he meets a friend, Wayne Woodring, at Bert's, yet another strip club.
He loved his strip clubs.
He did.
So wait, now this is interesting.
Yeah.
So David's freaking out at Publix.
Right.
But then, according to his buddy, he's totally relaxed at Bert's.
Yeah, according to Wayne. Yeah. It's almost like whatever he was so afraid of just kind of went away.
Huh. Like it wasn't a problem anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit.
Exactly. But he doesn't stay at Bert's very long. Witnesses say they saw him leave with this strange man.
Oh.
And get this. Later that night, at Mermaid's Lounge, a dancer named Jennifer sees David with the same guy.
Okay, so this Mr. Man,
Good.
He's got to be one of the last people to see David. But here's the crazy thing. Nobody can identify him.
I know, right? Even after all this time, it's like, who was he? What was his connection to David?
Yeah, why is everyone so quiet about him?
It's bizarre, right? And Jennifer, the dancer at Mermaid's Lounge,
Yeah.
she said David seemed really quiet that night, like withdrawn. And she remembers this strange guy telling David to hurry.
Oh, like they were in a rush?
Yeah, like they had some place to be. Huh. So now we've got this timeline, right? Like something's got to happen fast.
Yeah, like a deadline.
And sadly, it looks like that deadline is coming up quick.
It was.
Yeah.
Jennifer says no one at Mermaids remembers seeing David after 10:30.
So that's it, 10:30, he's gone.
Yeah.
That really narrows it down.
It does. And the discovery, well, it was awful. Around 11 p.m., a 911 call comes in.
Okay.
Car's on fire.
Yeah.
In Lehigh Acres, miles from Fort Myers.
Yeah.
And it's David's car.
Guy.
When the firefighters put out the fire, they find David's body in the trunk.
Oh, that's terrible. They really wanted to cover their tracks, didn't they? Burning the car like that?
Right. It's like they didn't want anyone to know who did it. And then Lehigh Acres, that's pretty far from Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Like they planned this out. They knew where they were going.
Wow. Okay, so now we've got to ask, who would want to kill David and why? So to figure out like why this happened, we've got to look at all the different suspects, right?
Yep.
All the theories. And one of the big ones, well, it's Jaime Carrillo.
Right. The club owner.
Yes, from Paradise. And remember, he was in jail, right?
Yeah, for drug trafficking.
Right. And David's friend, Gary, the DJ.
Yeah, Gary Hughes.
Right, right. He went to visit Jamie the morning David disappeared.
Yeah, and some of the dancers overheard Gary, like, making comments about people who ratted on Jamie.
Oh, like snitches get stitches kind of thing.
Exactly. Like there would be consequences.
Okay, so what if, and hear me out here, what if David was involved in Jamie's drug stuff?
Oh, wow.
Maybe without realizing it.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, running errands, moving packages, anything that could be a problem for Jaime once he's locked up.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely explain why he was so scared during that phone call at Publix.
Right. Like maybe he knew something or saw something that made him a target.
Yeah, a liability for those guys.
Right. And David, I mean, think about it. He wanted to be liked, to fit in. Maybe they took advantage of that, made him do things.
It's sad to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not all. There's another possibility.
Okay. What's that?
Maybe this was about the dancers.
Oh, okay.
Like, what if he got too close to one of them and a boyfriend got jealous?
It's possible.
Right. Remember, he got attacked by a dancer's boyfriend in Sarasota.
Yeah, a few months before he was killed.
Exactly. So it could easily happen again.
And then there's Tiffany.
Oh, yeah, her. The dancer he was looking for.
Yeah, he was asking Jennifer about her at Mermaids.
Right, right. And he seemed, I don't know, obsessed.
Yeah, anxious.
It's like, was she real? Or just in his head?
Right, and why wouldn't anyone talk about her?
Like the whole strip club scene went silent.
I know, right?
Fascinating.
Like, what are they hiding? Were they scared? Or were they protecting someone?
It's frustrating, right? Like, if we knew more about her, we might know more about what happened to David.
Exactly, so we have all these loose ends. Drugs. A jealous lover. A mystery woman.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The physical evidence, well, there's not much.
Oh, right, because back then, in 93.
Yeah. Forensics wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
They found some hair, some fingerprints. But without a suspect to compare them to, not much use.
But there's still hope, right? With DNA and all the new technology.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they could look at those old samples again. Maybe find something.
Right. Hair. Fingerprint. And after all this time, they could finally figure out who did it.
Yeah. And that's where you come in, our listeners. Sometimes all it takes is one little detail.
Right.
Something you might remember. Like a rumor you heard back then. Or a conversation.
Something that didn't seem important.
Exactly. But in a case like this, it could be everything. Think back to 93. Were you in Fort Myers?
Yeah.
Did you know anyone who hung out at those strip clubs? Had you heard of David compared with Tudo?
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in all the details, but we can't forget there's a real person at the heart of this. A young guy whose life ended way too soon. And, you know, his family, his parents, they've been dealing with this for 29 years.
I can't even imagine. No answers. No closure.
It's just awful. And it reminds us, you know, every unsolved crime, it leaves people behind. Families, loved ones, whole communities.
Yeah, it's never just about the victim. So if anyone out there listening, if you have any information about David's case.
Anything at all.
Doesn't matter how small.
Please come forward.
You can call the Lee County Sheriff's Office. They're still working on this case.
Yeah. And if you don't want to give your name,
right, you want to stay anonymous,
you can call Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers.
They'll take your information without you having to, say who you are. And think about it. You could be the one to close this case, finally get justice for David and his family.
Right. I mean, one little detail could be all it takes.
Exactly. David's story, I think, it shows us that darkness can hide anywhere, even in ordinary lives. But it also shows us that there's always hope, that we can solve these mysteries, that justice is possible, even if it takes a long time. So keep David's story in your mind. Talk about it. Think back to '93. Maybe something will come to you. And if it does, reach out. You could be the one to bring light to this mystery and finally bring peace to the people who loved David Compareto.